Flosstube. My name is Becca, and I am SamBrie Stitches here on Flosstube and Instagram. And this is another episode of Interview with a Flosstuber. Today, I am here with my friend Fiona. We actually met via the Zoom meetups that I host and became friends. She does have her own Flosstube channel, which I'll link below. She stitches amazing pieces, but not only does she stitch, she also dyes fabric, which has become my new obsession to collect hand-dyed fabric. So I'll also post a link to her shop down below. And so we'll just get into the interview. So how are you doing today, Fiona?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good. I'm super excited for this. We're going to get to know you a little bit better.
Yay.
So the first question is, why did you start a Flosstube, and were there any particular motivations?
Couple of things. I love this cross-stitching community. When I started getting back into cross-stitching last year, I just love how supportive everybody is and encouraging. There's no policing of the hobby. It's just, you do what is good for you. And I love that. And then also, I do not have an easy time being in front of the camera. I'm sort of the mom that's always behind the camera, hiding, taking the photos.
I know how that is.
That sort of thing. And I've got 3 girls who I want to encourage to do things, no matter what it is, no matter how hard it is, no matter how challenging it is for us, but to try it, to do it. So they were watching them with me last year when I got back into cross-stitching. And they were like, oh, Mom, you should do one of these. And I was like, oh, no way. Excuse me. I was like, no way. There's no way you would get me doing that. And they kept saying, do it, do it. And I'm like, okay. So I just wanted to encourage them to, try what is a challenge for us and overcome your fears.
That is a great message for sure. I'm the same as you. I was always the mom that I'd be taking pictures and recordings of, my girls, and I was never really in the picture until my oldest daughter taught me how to take selfies. Then we started.
Yeah, the selfies came into a little bit.
But yeah, no, that's a great message to teach the girls to just empower themselves and kind of get outside the comfort zone. I love that.
Yeah, thanks.
So the next question is kind of a subscriber question, and we were just wondering if you have a blog.
I am in the process of making a blog. By the time this video comes up, hopefully it'll be there. It's taking a while. Sort of one week I'm dyeing fabric. The next week I'm trying to get the blog going. I homeschool my kids, so that's started back up again. So yeah, I do way too many things.
Oh, you're super busy. Well, you can send me the link on the side and I'll just post it down below.
Yep. Same thing. It'll be Fiona's craft cottage, and but yeah, hopefully within the next week or so, it'll be finally done.
Oh no, very exciting! I know a lot of people are still looking to check out blogs, so that's neat that you're starting one up.
Yeah, I'm excited. I actually have an easier time writing than talking in front of the camera.
Nice. So the next question is, how did you learn to stitch, and how long have you been stitching?
I first learned to stitch in high school. I went to high school in Australia, and part of our textiles class is what it was called, was learning how to do needlepoint. So I learned to do that first and loved it. And for many years I just did needlepoint, and I was sort of more of a, would get the dimensions kits, and it would have the yarn and the canvas in it, and I would just sort of work on one at a time. And usually it would take me a few years to get them done because they're bigger. Mm-hmm. So, I'd get, kind of be in a big hurry to get it done, work on it a bunch, and then I'd get bored with it and put it away and then pull it out again. So then when I had my first daughter about 20 years ago, I tried cross-stitching, tried it with the magazines and stuff, and did a couple of pieces, but then sort of went back to needlepoint again. And then a year ago, I really got into cross-stitching after a friend told me about the floss tubes, and I saw how different the cross-stitching patterns were and how much it had changed. And I think I've cross-stitched pretty much every day since.
It's an addictive hobby. And since you discovered Flosstube, I'm sure you fell down the rabbit hole of all the shops and huge.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, my wish lists. Thank goodness websites have wish lists that I can say, okay, how much did it on my wish list.
Yep. That's
And after
really
a day, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. I'll save it for a while.
Yep. Yeah, that's the whole point of the wish list. It's great. You can go through and be like, well, I don't really want that. Oh, I bought that somewhere else.
Right?
So this is one of my favorite questions, and is what is your favorite project or projects that you've stitched?
This was a tough one. I've got a lot done in the last year, and I love finishing stuff as much as I love stitching it.
We're similar in that way.
Yeah. But my favorite one was probably this one, the old red barn. So you can see that.
Oh, wow.
So I actually made a really big boo-boo on this. I actually made a mistake up here somewhere in the border.
Yeah.
Like one or two stitches I was off. So like this whole green area is longer. I didn't think it would really make a big difference, but like as I'm stitching, this part just kept getting longer and longer and longer.
You're like,
yeah, and I was too far into it to redo it.
Yeah.
So I added pumpkins down here, I added some pumpkins there, and I just kept fudging it. And I love how it came out because I still think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous, gorgeous finish. And you can't tell that you've messed up any stitches. It looks
No, unless you set it next to another one, then they'd be like, why have you got so much grass there?
You just personalized it. That's all.
I did, yeah. And I used my Cricut to do this piece and the little wagon wheel, and I loved incorporating that. It was cool to use the balsa wood and make that all up.
I think I'm going to need a Cricut now. I thought those were pre-bought.
Oh no, yeah, the Cricut
so
really
cool.
Cool. And then a couple of weeks ago, I finished my first biscornu.
I love that.
I love it. These are so easy to make. They look really complicated with sewing them together, but it's so easy. I'm hooked on the biscornus now.
Yeah, I told you I'm going to have to learn from you because I really want to stitch a biscornu.
Yeah, so I'm going to start one this weekend also, so I'm really excited.
I'll have to pick up a pattern and then maybe we can do a little Zoom finishing thing.
Tiny Modernist has some great patterns.
Yeah. I think there's a giraffe one. I don't know if it's theirs, but there's a giraffe one.
Yes,
and I want to make that for my oldest daughter. So
yeah, I love giraffes, so I got that one.
Oh yeah, we had that. I remember we talked about that. So the next question is, what do you enjoy most about stitching?
The community. I've loved that I've met so many awesome people in the last year on Instagram and through Flosstubes, and now with you through the Zoom chat app. I love that. I love how relaxing it is. It really helps me when I'm stressed out. When I get really stressed out, I tend to just keep going to, do. And the stitching helps me to stop and takes my mind off the craziness that is our life at the moment. Yeah, just stress reliever, good for my mental health.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty common reason for a lot of people. It's just such a calming, amazing hobby, and it does make you slow down because you cannot speed stitch. I guess I probably could, but it can be difficult.
Right? Yeah. Last year when came all back into, I started stitching again. It was something I really needed to get off the stress cycle. So yeah, it came back into my life at a perfect time and really has been awesome this last year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think they should start doing like therapy type classes with stitching. Because when I bring my stitching to work, people at work will be like, I don't understand how you have the patience to do that. Or, it looks so boring. And I'm like, you shouldn't knock it till you try it.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Last year I was in school doing alternative medicine type stuff with herbs and aromatherapy. And I had to take a complementary and alternative medicine class. And one of the assignments we had to do was sort of find alternative things that help you relieve stress. Mm-hmm. So obviously a lot of it was yoga, Pilates, meditation. And I did the assignment on Crossstitch. Mm-hmm. And the professor actually came back and said, no, that doesn't count. And I'm like, oh, yes, it does. From personal experience in a major way, I really, really respectfully disagree with you. And after the assignment, and she read it, and quite a few other students were like, wow, yeah, that actually gave us something to think about. So I think I'm a huge advocate for this sort of stuff with mental health. I think it's, whether it be cross stitching, knitting, crochet, some sort of hobby that gets you off the stress cycle, I think is really important.
Yeah, I'm glad that you stood up to the professor and put them in their place.
Yeah, I tried to do it in the nicest possible way, but
yeah, well, people are very quick to judge. They really are. So, yeah. So we're going to move on to the next question, and that is, what's your favorite genre of book or movie?
Comedy. I love to laugh. I love to make people laugh. Just a good comedy. By the time I sit down at the end of the day, if I'm watching TV, I don't want to have to sit there and think about it. I'm a lazy
I'm
TV.
with you.
And I'm usually stitching, so I don't really pay that close of attention. It's really just going in the background.
Yeah. The comedies are nice because you don't have to really get into the plot of the movie and try to figure it out or whatever.
Yeah. I used to watch a lot of Hallmark, but we've cut cables at this point. So, but Hallmark movies are great because you really don't have to pay attention to them because they're all the same.
That is true. So what fictional place would you most like to go?
I have a couple for this one. So I had to think about this one. Definitely Hogwarts. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. It would be awesome to spend a day walking around Hogwarts with the professors and the ghosts and, just doing stuff. And the other place would be Green Gables, from Anna Green Gables. That would just seem so peaceful and tranquil and just a cool place to hang out.
Yep, perfect stitching spot too.
Yeah, from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So if you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
This one I had to think about a lot, and the answers from other people have been really interesting. I love to see what other Flosstubers say about this one. Mm-hmm. I love that some have said, spending a day with a grandparent or traveling. I could definitely see doing that. But for me, it would be spending a day with my father-in-law and brother-in-law who have deceased. I have never met them. They had already passed when I met and married my husband. So to spend a day with them, I think would be pretty amazing. I have a pretty strong connection with them. I've had a few experiences where I know they've been with me. Yeah. So I think it would be awesome to meet them. And then the other one, sorry, I've got to.
No, you're fine.
So that was a more serious one, but a fun one would be to, like at the moment we're working on the Mayflower Sellers happening, The Women of the Mayflower by Brenda Gervais. I think it would be awesome to go back in time, spend a day on the Mayflower or some aspect of back then, see how they live, but then bring a person back with me and have them spend a day here with us, because I think that would just be mind-blowing. We can barely drive an hour without, getting bored and needing to get out of the car. Right. They spent 66 days on a ship and didn't even know where they were going. So that's just sort of amazing to me.
Yeah, that would be amazing, just to see what's running through their minds and how they are living and what they're doing on that ship.
Yeah. And we can't live without our phones and the internet. How did they do that?
Right. What did they do to keep themselves occupied? Yeah.
Right. And as women, we're the nurturers, men are the hunters and gatherer type thing. So to be on a boat for 66 days and it's kind of mind boggling to me that they took that chance and did that and paid our way.
That would be amazing. That would be really neat. So do you have any other hobbies besides cross stitch?
Yeah, I used to scrapbook, huge into scrapbooking and still love it. I just don't have the space I like to lay things out and tinker with it and mess around with it. And I just don't have the space set up in our house that we're in right now. Mm-hmm. I started quilting last year, which I love, but the classes ended because of COVID. Yeah. So that sort of slowed down. I've taught myself to crochet, but don't really do that a whole lot. The counting gets a bit boring after a while. I have an easier time counting with the cross stitch than I do with the crochet for some reason. I don't know why. Love photography. That's about it, really. that all keeps me pretty busy. Cross stitching and quilting are my main things right now.
I would love to learn to quilt. And I used to scrapbook too, but I think I did many, many years of my oldest daughter. And I think I got the first 2 or 3 years of my youngest daughter. And I was like, then it wasn't fun anymore. So
Yeah.
I way behind.
Get a little overwhelming. I have a lot done for my first daughter, a bit for my second, and none for my third. She's like, where's mine? And I'm like, yeah, still waiting to happen.
It's all on Facebook or MySpace back then. It's all went digital.
Right. Yep, exactly. And yeah, I don't think because of the digitalness of everything, I don't think a lot of people print photos like we used to, unfortunately.
Yep. That's what happened with me for sure. I made a couple digital scrapbook pages that I printed off and put inside the scrapbook. And even then it was just like,
it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not touchy. You know, we like to play with stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. You also dye fabric.
I do dye fabric. Yes, I do love to dye fabric.
I'm like, we need to bring that in.
Before I started the Etsy shop, that would have been somewhat of a hobby because I do love just to get the dye out and play. I don't really have anything in mind of what I'm going to do. I just get the fabric, I get the dye, and I just go to town. And then I love to see what comes out.
Yeah, I think I own a few of your pieces, and they're beautiful. I know you don't have like a set rhyme or reason to what you like upload into your Etsy shop. It's just kind of whatever you end up dyeing and looks good.
Yep, it's just what comes out. I set the dyes out, I set the fabric out, and everybody needs to get out of the kitchen. And I just sort of play with them. I think if I had to just keep putting the same ones up, I'd get a bit bored with it.
Yeah.
Because I like to mix the dyes, and sometimes they don't come out very good, but then you can sort of mix them more, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like this.
It gives us buyers like unique pieces of fabric, for our stitching as well. So I like that.
Yeah. Cool. I couldn't dye enough fabric for myself. I would like have piles of it around. I had to do something with it.
Yeah. So we'll definitely put the link down below, and then people can just turn on updates for whenever you do.
Awesome.
And I know you mentioned in your video, remember I commented, you mentioned in your video that you had put up 18 count, and I'm like, pause, what your shot? And pause the fabric, and then I'm like, okay, now I can go finish watching her video.
It was so funny that day that you did that, because as the notifications came in that you had purchased the fabric, I was writing a thank you card to you. I'm like, wait, what? I know that name. Wait, what? How did that happen? I'm like, is she watching me or something? What's going on here?
I have that timing because when Anna and I were chatting on Instagram, and during our conversation, I went to her Etsy shop and bought a couple of thread keeps. And she's like, what did you just do? I like to help my friends out. But yeah, your fabrics are awesome. So we'll definitely put the link down below.
Thank you.
So this is kind of a fun question. And it's, how would your friends describe you?
Oh, probably annoying. I'm fairly honest. I'd say pretty honest, very loyal. I don't like it when other people mess with my friends. Don't mess with my friends, peeps. I like to laugh, so I mess around. I don't really take life too seriously. So then it's hard to sort of know when I'm being serious or not. So that can happen. They're very easygoing. I think that's the Australian in me. We're very easygoing country people. So yeah, I don't know, just pretty laid back, and sort of what you see is what you get. Probably too honest sometimes. I think that can bug people.
I think we need more people that are too honest. We have a lot of people that will just say what they think that you want to hear. So
yeah,
we need more honesty in today's world, especially.
I don't deal so good with that. Just tell it to me as it is. Then I can know what I need to do to deal with it. And if I've done something, just let me know. Sometimes there's just that miscommunication. So, So, just pretty easygoing, fun-loving.
All very good traits.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of get back into the stitching a little bit, and it is, how do you prefer to stitch? Do you use a hoop, U-snap, frame, that kind of question?
A bit of both. I do prefer to stitch more in hand, which surprises me. I never thought I would. I don't like hoops. I don't get along with hoops very well because they get too loose. I like a really tight tension. Okay. But last year when I did Jolly July, I was stitching a lot of really small Christmas ornaments that didn't fit into a Q-snap. Yep. So from there, starting on something really small, it just sort of went larger and larger. And before I knew it, I was stitching in hand. That was sort of just a natural progression. But I've recently started stitching on linen, and I needed a Q-snap for that. So if I'm cross-stitching, I tend to use a Q-snap. If I'm doing a needle point, I would use more of a scroll frame. Okay. But so a bit of both, all a bit of everything.
Everything.
Yeah, I'm all over the place.
Do you have a preferred like type of fabric that you steer towards?
Not anymore. Again, I'm all over the place. At the beginning of the year and most of this last year, I've only been on Ada, and I liked all of them, 14, 16, 18. This Biscornia was on 14 count, and I love the way it came out. Yeah. But I'd be curious now to try it on 16 and 18 and other fabrics to see how those things change, the sizes and everything. And I've just started stitching on linen, and I love that. So yeah, Lugana, linen, Ada, everything.
So everything. You're like an equal opportunity fabric stitcher.
Yeah, I am. It's a little scary because now it's like, geez, what do I choose to stitch this on?
Yeah, no, see, for me, I like my 18 count. No, I like my 18 count really, but a friend of ours in the Zoom is actually going to send me, I think, a piece of even weave to try. So I'm like, I hope I don't like it.
I'm excited to see how you like that. I think that's awesome. So yeah,
I'm nervous. I don't want to like it.
Oh, you don't want. It's actually not really that easy. It's not that different stitching on linen to anything else. Yeah. I was surprised. I was really like hesitant on whether I would, go down that rabbit hole. But I really like it. It's not that hard.
Nice. Well, we'll see how it goes. So the next question is, where is your favorite place that you've traveled, and did you bring stitching along when you went?
I wouldn't have had stitching. My husband and I traveled a lot when we first started dating and married. Before we had kids, we would travel around all over the country. We'd drive, but I wasn't stitching that much then. Favorite place I've traveled would probably be New England. I love the Boston area. We lived there for a couple of years. We've moved a lot. We met in LA, moved to Florida, moved to Boston, back to Florida.
Wow.
Las Vegas, and then here. So yeah, we've moved a lot. I love this area. But Boston, the New England area was awesome. The history there and the housing is all different. So it's not like you drive down the street and everything's, looks the same.
We lived in the New England area. We were stationed in Connecticut for about 6 years. So that's so funny because we lived all over as well. And I love the Pacific Northwest. That's where I was born and raised anyways. But when we first moved here, I was pretty miserable and lonely and sad and, no friends kind of thing. And I just kept begging my husband to move back to Connecticut because that's where I was happiest of all the places that we lived.
Yeah, us too.
Yeah, it's such an amazing area. We went up to New Hampshire, Vermont. Yep. We went to New York just after 9/11 when that happened. And it's just such an amazing area.
Everything seems close. It doesn't seem like you could zip around and be like, wow, we've been to like 3 different states.
It's like 45 minutes in each direction from where we lived was somewhere.
Exactly. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything up here is kind of close, but it's still like an hour or 2 away.
Drive.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a fun question. We can learn about new doohickeys. What can you not do without for your stitching? Like your favorite go-to?
Yeah. I actually found out just recently because I lost it in my So I have this little mint tin. This is kind of kooky. It's just an In-N-Out burger mint tin that I've had for years. But I put a magnet in the lid that I put my needles on. I have a major issue with losing needles.
Mm-hmm.
And I can put my aughts in it. So it just sits on the table next to me. I don't like the little aughts like on the table and on the floor. My dog will get into them. The cats will get into them. I have an aught issue. So I've got to have something to put them in. And it doesn't matter how many needle minders I have around me. I lose needles all the time. But this worked. If I put this on the table next to me, I can put the needle on it. And for some reason, I don't lose needles. So
Unless you lose your whole container.
well, yeah, and it did. I lost it for like a good 2 weeks and I was going nuts about it. And even everybody in the family was like, have you found it yet? Have you found it yet? I'm like, no, where is it? And I had actually, it must have been on top of some stuff I'd purchased, finishing stuff like I'd got from Joann's or Michael's.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow it got tangled up in that stuff and I put it away. And I happened to walk into my storage area one day and just saw the corner peeking out. And I'm like, yeah, I found it. Otherwise it could be still lost. It's such a weird thing. Yeah, but yes, my little mint tin.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's funny that you said that's your favorite and then you lost it. I use a hole puncher, which, you know, you wouldn't think for stitching why, but like fancy floss, I'll punch a hole on the card next to the hole that it's in so I can do like my extra strands.
Yep.
So Shadow, my dog, likes to lay next to me on the love seat couch that I use for stitching. So every time she wants up, I have to move everything off.
Yep.
I can't find my hole puncher. And I'm like freaking out because I need it. So I'm sure I'll have the best feeling ever if I ever find it. It has to be somewhere. But losing like one of your favorite things is just, you realize just how much you use it, how much you rely on it. So
yeah, totally. I mean, it's just a silly little mint tin from a restaurant that we love, but yeah, it's like I had to have it. So yeah.
They're really good. So the next question is, how do you decide on what you're going to work on next?
Just whatever sort of catches my eye on the day. I have a lot of whips. My next Flosstube, I'm going to do a whip parade. And I'm a little scared to do that because I've sort of got things tucked here and tucked there. And yeah, I'm going to have to pull everything out and yeah, actually like be an adult about how many whips I have.
There are people that have like 100 whips. So, you know.
I never thought I would have this many. Like last year when I first watched Stitching with the Housewives,
yeah.
and I saw how many whips they had going, I was like, how do they do that? That's crazy. Yeah. And then I heard Priscilla talking about how she has a hard time working on one and she gets bored. And I totally was like, oh my gosh, that's me. Mm-hmm. I get bored with stuff. And it just took me down a rabbit hole. I did Jolly July last year thinking it would give me plenty of stuff to work on for the year, but I didn't think about all the other stuff I'd want to get at the same time. So yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, that'll be fun. I love whip parade.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it. It's just, yeah.
Getting it all organized and together.
Yeah.
Fun. All right, so we are down to the last question, and this is my all-time favorite question, and sometimes the hardest for the people that I'm interviewing. But it's, what's the best thing that has happened to you so far this year?
Oh, this was easy for me. Well, okay. The pandemic's been interesting because my husband's home. He's not been working since end of February, early March. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he's been home, stressful, but it's nice to have him home. He worked at a hotel, so him going into work into Portland every day would have been really stressful over these last few months. So there's goods and bads with that, obviously. But being in the Zoom group, meeting you and all the other ladies has definitely been the best thing this year. It has been awesome to get to know all of you. And I think the core group that we sort of have there now has been it's just been really fun getting to know everyone and seeing everybody when we get together. It's been a blast.
That makes me so happy. I love it. I think it helped us all through a lot, you know, since I started it up during the pandemic, basically. But I'm so glad that we're continuing and that there is a core group of us, even though it's welcome to everybody, but it seems like there's a core group of us that have maintained, you know, going. And someday I hope you and we live in the same state. We live like what, an hour-ish apart. Someday we need to meet in person.
Yeah.
I'm like, we need to meet in person.
I know, right? Definitely.
But I know that some of them, you know, are all over the world, and Zoom has just brought us all together, which is amazing. So
yeah, totally amazing. Because I don't know any stitches around here. I mean, we've lived here for about 4 years this month, but I don't know any other stitches in the area. So it's really cool to. I mean, it's nice on the message boards and on Instagram to meet people there, but when you're seeing people at least on camera like this, it's really cool to see on a regular basis and see what we're working on and what's going on in our life. So yeah, it's been great.
Well, that makes me happy that is the best thing that's happened to you. That was the whole point of starting it, is just, you know, to meet other people and to make people happy and stay connected. So
yeah,
that's awesome. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I fell into it. I saw you one day on Instagram that you had some chat. You was doing a Zoom chat, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds fun. Can I join?" Yeah. And you've been really welcoming to everybody. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I love it. It's open to everybody. So, we are at the end, and it's probably good because I'm getting blinded by the sun. You can see me from the shade to the sun.
Yeah.
So gonna get a good tan. But thank you so much for being flexible. I know we had to adjust, you know, the good days and everything for getting this done, but I'm glad that we got it done. And for you just taking time out of your day to chat with me and chat with everybody else. So
yeah, you're very welcome. I hope people enjoy watching it.
I think they will. Yeah, they really do enjoy these interviews and learning about new Flosstubers to them, or the ones that they are already watching. They get to learn a little bit more about them. So.
Right. Yeah. No, I've enjoyed watching many of the interviews. They're fantastic. You do a great job.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So we'll say bye to everybody on Flosstube.
Bye. Happy stitching.